All right, so this is kind of part two of how to make a creature. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to make wings for the creature and I'm going to make a tail for the creature. So in order to make, like, let's say we're going to make a left wing and right wing separately. So first of all, I'm going to create an empty game object. And this empty game object is going to be, we'll say, the left wing. Okay, so I'm going to rename it to be left wing. All right, the simplest thing to do is to use the creature generator in order to lay out the segments of the wing, because I would probably want to put my 5 segments on the wing or whatever. You can parameterize the number of segments. Okay, so there's left wing. So I'm going to add the creature generator component again. So, okay, let's find the left wing. There it is there. Let me move it over here. And there's the creature generator. Creature generator. Oh yeah, I'm just wondering why the gizmos are not showing up. And of course, I have to go and enable the parent game component there, or a parent game object of the left wing. So there's the left wing. Okay, so that's going to be the shape of the wing. Okay, initially it doesn't look like a very interesting shape. So I'm going to change the parameters on the, let's see, the left wing generator. I'm going to find my previously made wing just so I get the parameters correct. Okay, so the parameters I used to make the wing segments, I used a value of 3.3 for theta. Frequency I used 1. Number of parts 5. So this wing is gonna have 5 parts. The gap I set to be 0. Okay, so that basically brings all it's going to bring all the segments together like that. Is there anything else? There's one other thing I need to do here. Everything else is correct, but the thing is the wings need to be rotated in the sort of local space of the object or of the creature. In other words, basically the left wing needs to point down the negative z axis and the right wing needs to point down the positive x axis. So in order to do that, basically we're going to do a 90-degree rotation around the y. So that will basically rotate the left wing. So that's the shape of the left wing. Now I need to basically give the, prefabs for the segments of the left wing. In other words, like the head, if you like, the thing that's going to sort of drive the spine animator, and then these segments here, which will be just unit size cylinders as well. Okay, and the creature generator will basically scale them. All right, so let's make those different segments. Okay, so right click on here, gonna basically make another cylinder. All right, so x of 1, a y of 0.1. So again, you keep these in kind of unit sizes. And let's move it out of the way somewhere so I can see what it's going to look like. Okay, there it is. You don't really need to do anything else to it apart from make it look like a disc, Let's see, there's a couple of behaviors though that we need to add. First game component I need to add here is the fin animator. So the fin animator, oh yeah, we did the fin animator the last time. You guys know what the fin animator does. Right, fin animator is the same as the fin animator that I used on the fin. Okay, that's fine. The other component then I need to add is a spine animator. Why? Because what I want to happen here is I want the fin to animate sort of like rotating around the z-axis. You know why? I was wondering in my last video why I had to specify an axis of x. It's because the thing is rotated. It really is rotating around the z-axis if you think about it, but because I've actually rotated the game object the z-axis becomes the x-axis. That's why. Okay, so that's why it's x. All right. So there's the cylinder. So that's going to be the disc, which is going to be the first component of the wing. And then for all of the subsequent components, oh yeah, let me just rename that. I usually call this guy wing head because it's basically the head of the wing, if you like, the thing that controls the wing. And then I'm going to make, you know what, I can just make another cylinder there. 3D object cylinder. Same size, 0.1 on the Y. And this is going to be the kind of like body segment of the wing. So let's call this wing body. All right, and this doesn't have to have any scripts on it at all because this is going to get moved by the head. So let's just take the head there and auto assign bones is true. So then what I can do is I can use the left wing and I can specify the head prefab for you and body prefab for you. So my goal when I was developing this framework was to try and reuse code as much as possible. So hopefully here you can see where I'm being able to use stuff that I made, stuff that I wrote to make bodies, and now I'm using the same code and the same scripts basically to make the wings as well. So there's the wing head, the wing body set on that prefab thing, and the creature generator. Yeah, one thing, anything else I need to set in the wing head? Fin animator, the side is set to the left, and that rotation is X. Okay, that's cool. I'm going to do the same thing for the right. Oh yeah, the left wing. Yeah, for the right wing. Okay, I think I can probably just copy and paste that. Yeah, let's try that and see if I can change that. So that instead of left wing or right left wing, that's going to be right wing. So right wing. And then I'm going to move it so that I can just see them side by side. The other thing then is this needs to be rotated minus 90 on the Y. So it's going to be rotated, basically point the opposite direction to the left wing. Now, anything else I need to change here? Yeah, the wing head, actually, I should have renamed that to be left wing head. Rename you to be left wing head. And I'm going to copy and paste you, and I'm going to rename you to be right wing head, because this is the thing that's going to animate the right wing. So creature generator will use it. Anyway, the only thing I change here is I just changed this drop down on the fin animator from left to right. So did I do that in these guys when I made my fins earlier on? I hope I did. I did it on my fins earlier on. Okay, so just to go again, there's the left wing, which is just a creature generator with the left wing head and the wing body. Okay, right wing, that's the right wing. Yeah, sorry, the right wing should have the right wing head. There we go. And the wing body. And then the left wing should have the left wing head and the wing body. Number of parts is 5. And then apart from that, they're pretty much the same. They're just rotated. Okay, let's take our Steve and modify it. You know what I should have done here? Best practice, of course, would have been to do a commit before I got the first thing working. Let's do a commit now for the hell of it. Mm-hmm. For adding wings. Okay, here we go. All right, so here we are. There's Steve. I wonder, should I just make a new Steve? I want to keep him anyway. There's Steve and Steve 1. Sorry, Steve 1 and Steve 2. Steve 2 is going to have wings, and Steve 1 is going to have fins. So let's move you guys apart over here. And there's Steve 1. I'm going to move over here, and I'm going to turn the prefabs off. And then for Steve 2, for the left fin prefab and the right fin prefab, I'm going to give you the wing prefab instead. So let's give you the left wing. And for the right wing prefab, I'm going to give you the right wing. Where's right wing? There we go. Okay. And let's see what it looks like. I'll save it, maximize on play, hit the play button, and see what it looks like. All right. So there's my winged creature and my finned creature, So that's kind of two creatures made from basically the same set of components. So one with fins and one with wings. Okay, next thing we might want to do, I can make a tail in this video, and I'm also going to make, I'm going to add some more interesting behaviors to get some more interesting behaviors rather than just sort of like that going forward and that up and down motion, which even though it's kind of pretty, eventually it's just a bit boring. So there's a few other things. Why don't we do that first? Because I think they're easy things to do. The tail is going to require a little bit of, steps to get it right. So let's basically take the head, which is the same prefab that both of the creatures are made from, and add a couple of more behaviors. The first behavior I'm going to add, let's see, what should we add? Let's add noise wander. So noise wander is a wandering behavior based on Perlin noise, right? So if I turn Steve creature parts on again there, excuse me, now you can see the noise wander gizmos getting drawn, right? So there is the noise wander on the head. There's the head with noise wander on it. Okay, so one of those big blue circles is noise wander, and the other one is the harmonic, right? So we'll see now when I actually modify these values here. So I think a radius of 30 is too. Oh yeah, okay. So probably should be like that size. Probably 20 or 30, and then maybe the distance. Let's make it a distance of 7. No, it is 10. 10 is exactly lined up with the other one. So okay, that's probably fine. So noisiness is 0.02, right? I'll tell you what, let's yeah, why don't I disable this guy here, and yeah, I'll leave the two Steves in the scene, hit the play button, you'll see what effect the noise wander has. Hopefully we're getting enough noise wander for it to have an effect. I haven't even checked the weights. So normally I'd like to check the weights. So now they're moving a little bit left and right, hopefully. Cool. They are probably moving a little bit left and right. The extent to which they're actually moving, we can figure out by looking at the gizmo. So let's look at the actual gizmos. Let's look at Steve's actual head. And hopefully you can see, look at that. There's the noise wander, which is basically the light blue line. And you can see it's having some effect to steer the creature, you know, slightly to the left and to the right. Let me have a look at my pre-made head and see what values I used on noise wander. Spine animator, harmonic, noise wander. Okay. The only thing I noticed that's different is I actually set a weight of 2 on the noise wander. So there's the harmonic with a weight of 10, noise wander with a weight of, well, let's try a little bit more. Let's try a weight of 5. So here's an interesting thing. This could take a long time, so I'm not going to go too much into it right now. Let me undo the maximize on play and I'll show you what I mean. You can find one of the heads, right? And if you take a look down at the behaviors, you should see what effect that is having on the creature. So you can see the noise wander E with a weight of 5 is causing, 9 units of force. I think that's how it's measured. But basically, you can see that the noise wander force is having an effect. It's having an impact because it's being calculated. Why would it not be calculated? It might not be calculated because you might have set the maximum force too low. And basically, how this weighted truncated prioritized running sum algorithm works, and it's kind of important to tweak these values until you get them right and to understand how they work. But what it will do is evaluate each of the forces, and as soon as a force exceeds the maximum force, it no longer calculates the subsequent force or the lower priority forces down the line. So for example, if you were to set, let me see if I set the maximum force to 5, does that mean, okay, what if I set the maximum force to be, this might not work. I probably shouldn't have started doing this, but I did. I started, so I'll finish. If I set that to be 2, here we go. Yeah, okay, now it's kind of happening. What I wanted to happen. Harmonic is being calculated. Noise wander is only now, every now and again, it gets calculated, right? So in other words, the previous forces exceeded the maximum amount of force. Oh my goodness, that's too long to explain. There we go. I'm going to stop the play button now, and so we've got fins, we've got tails. Sorry, we've got fins and we have wings. I think the next thing I want to make for Steve is I want to make a tail. So I'm going to make another sort of floppy animated tail. You might think you'll just use a fin animator. Fin animator works kind of well for certain types of tails. And I do have some more examples in one of my other scenes where I basically want the head harmonic to go, the tail and the head basically to be synchronized. But in this example, and why I have another type of animator is I want the tail basically to be synchronized to the creature's velocity. So in other words, the faster the creature is traveling, the faster the tail will wag, if you like, or flap, whatever the tails do. Okay, so let's make a tail. So I'm going to create an empty game object here. Oh yeah, now slight weird thing about the tails, right? The way you have to make a tail is when you're setting the tail prefab on the creature generator, or when I'm setting the creature prefab, the tail the actual tail must be the last segment of the creature, and then the tail is attached to it. That's the way it has to work. So let me do that. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to make a sphere. So I'll make a 3D object, which is going to be a sphere, and this is going to be the last segment of the creature. So let me rename you to be tail. All right, so that's that bit. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the tail animator to you. Now, how did I do this? Let me just double check. My tail. Okay, I used a generator. Okay, so the tail, let's use a generator. Okay, so I added another game component to you. Sorry, a child to the tail, an empty child. I'm going to rename you to be the tail gen, because this is going to be a generator that's going to generate all of the segments on the tail. So tail, a creature generator. Let's see, the values that I found that worked for the particular tail shape in the example that I made earlier, I used the value of 3.68 for theta. You know, most of this, in fact, all of these values, I just arrived at by sliding them up and down randomly until I liked the look of it. So, and I set 5 segments, okay? So what we should probably do, so I can see what it's going to look like, is I'll enable that again, the tail gen over there. So let's move the tail gen over here. And I think I need to also set some value on the vertical size. It's probably 1. Vertical size I used as 2, okay, in my example. And the gap I used a value of 0. And so that basically squashed up the tail segments like that. So there's the tail generator. The tail generator needs 2 prefabs. It needs the head prefab and the body prefab. So the head prefab is the thing that, again, is going to have the tail animator and the spine animator. The body prefab will have nothing on it. Okay, so let's make the tail head, which will be a cylinder. Rename you to be tail head. And set the Y view to be 0.1. And so that's going to scale it, so it makes it a disk. And then I'm going to add a tail animator and also a spine animator. So the tail animator, what did I say? Let me just double check the values that I used here. Tail animator. So that's the tail head. And the tail head. Okay, yeah, so there's a few interesting numbers here that you can change. First thing you can change is what drives the animation. So you can experiment with different, with the 3 possible values here, either acceleration or velocity or force. Velocity basically means the velocity gets multiplied by the speed, and then that's what drives the animation. Okay, so in other words, how fast the creature is moving will determine how fast the animation runs. Acceleration just means that whenever an acceleration is applied, in other words, whenever the creature moves to turn or change direction, so that's acceleration. And the same thing with force. Whenever a force, basically the magnitude of the force that's being applied will drive the animation. So the one that I made earlier, I decided I would try. What did I use? I used velocity. Tail animator. No, I used force. Okay, so let's try force. And for the axis, I used the x-axis. All right, so that will rotate it on the x-axis. Rotating on the x-axis means it's going to be an up and down rather than a left and right. You could specify that to be the y-axis, in which case it would have like a sort of like a left to right rotation. X-axis, let's leave it at that for now. And I used the speed of 2. So I'm pretty sure I can reuse the wing gen for the tail gen because they're all the same. So, or sorry, the wing body section. So there's the tail head becomes that thing there. And then I'm pretty sure the wing body can be reused there. So there's the tail, and there's the generator, and I think that's it. Okay, so the tail being the last segment, and then the generator is going to, oh yeah, the offset is wrong there. That should have an offset of 0, basically, so they're lined up. Okay, excellent. All right, so let's take one of the Steves that I just made and give it a tail. So basically, just take the tail, drag it on as the tail prefab. In fact, let's give them both tails and see what they look like. Tail prefab. Tail prefab. Nice. Save. Hit the play button. Oh, I should maximize them. And don't forget to disable the prefabs. So there we go. Two interesting little creatures with wings and tail animations. Procedurally generated animations, procedurally generated creatures. So pretty cool. Oh yeah, I like that. Okay, so as I was saying, there's ways we can basically modify the sort of behavior on the head to make it a little bit more interesting. And one of the little components that I wrote for doing that is called the Harmonica Controller. So the Harmonica Controller, what it will do is on a sort of a coroutine, you know, basically a certain time interval, it will basically vary the speed by up to 50%. That's what this number indicates here, and vary the amplitude by up to 50%. Okay, so I can't remember what exactly the time interval, but it's maybe something between sort of like every 5 to 10 seconds or something like that. And this glide option here, if you set the glide option, what will happen is every now and again it will set the amplitude and the speed to be a very, very low number, so it just looks like the creature is sort of floating. Okay, so let's take a look and see what the creature looks like now. Save the scene, hit the play button. Oh, I'm going to just disable the prefabs so I don't see them in the scene. Hit the play button again, and let's see what they look like. All right, so there's my creature with 2 sets of wings and 2 sets of fins. There's one or two, just one small change I'm going to make to the winged creature. Wow, that's pretty dramatic. I like the way that moves. Okay, so there's one small change I want to make to the winged creature, and that's that I just want the wings to sort of point upwards slightly, a bit more like a bird's wings. So what I can do to do that is if I basically pick the left wing and the left wing first of all. Oh yeah, I'm just going to enable the prefabs again. So there's the left wing, and if I flip around like this, you'll see that the left wing is currently horizontal. One thing you can do, or I can do here, is basically just add an angle to it. So if I rotate that by 30 degrees and the right wing by 30 degrees, then the wings will sort of point upwards like that. Okay, so let's see what effect that has. Oh, prefabs are still getting drawn there. Let's hit the play button, see what it looks like. Okay, I kind of like that. You can change that. 30 degrees is what I've set that to be, but obviously you can experiment with it until you get the look that you like. But that's pretty cool. Now the 2 wings are sort of pointing upwards rather than pointing out horizontally. So it just makes the creature look a little bit more sort of bird-like, like it has wings which are, you know, up in the air like that. Wow, it's doing loads of, I think the noise wander is probably too noisy. But I'll just show you what I can do to modify that, and you can even do it at runtime until you get numbers that you like. So I'm going to undo maximize on play here and just show you one of the little ways that I might tweak the behavior slightly. So if I hit play now, I'm going to find Steve 2 and I'll follow Steve 2. Follow Steve 2's head. Oop. So there's Steve 2's head. Actually, you can look at it from above and you can see the noise wander. The way the noise wander is causing the creature to steer a lot to the left and the right. It's probably too much. One of the things you can change on the noise wander is the noisiness. So noisiness of 0.2, okay, maybe I'm going to reduce that to maybe 0.1. So it will basically just slow. It'll just change how fast it sort of swings left and right. Maybe you can change the range. Okay, so the range means 3.14. That means it's basically going to, some of these are in degrees and some of these are in radians. That means it's going to swing basically 180 degrees or 90 degrees to the left and 90 degrees to the right. Maybe that's too big. Let's make that 1.5 instead. So it won't swing so far to the left and to the right. So, okay, that's going to basically straighten out the behavior, but it'll still turn. All right, so 1.5 looks good, a noisiness of 0.1. Let me go back to the head and then remember those values and put them in here. So let's find the harmonic. Oh, noise wonder. So I made that 1.5 and I made noisiness into 0.1. And now I'm going to save it. And this is the final version of the two creatures that I made today. Oh yeah, sorry. One last thing, just so you know how to do this. If you look at how the creature generator is generating the creature, I might have mentioned this before, but there's this variable here called a fin list. It's recording, yep. Fin list basically determines which components or which segments on the creature's body get fins. The fin list here is 3,6. You know, if I want to have lots of fins just to make the creature look, or lots of wings just to make a really unusual looking creature, I can do 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that basically means all of the segments, you could even do 2, are now going to have wings on them. And this fin rotation offset determines what the offset in angles is between each pair of fins. So if you basically set that to be 0, all the fins will be, will basically, or all the fins or wings will flap in sync. But it doesn't look terribly nice. It's much better to have like an angle or offset between the fins. So basically, so it just looks like that they're slightly out of sync. It looks a lot more organic. So let's see what that looks like now. I'll maximize here so I can see it a bit better. This is just like a mutant creature with lots of wings, just so you can see what it looks like. And there it is, doing its behavior. Okay, so I'm going to hit the stop button there. Maybe I'll make that offset 80. So that should be, just to use a bigger number there, so the fins are going to be a little bit more out of sync. All right, and now I get that crazy looking creature. It's pretty close to the creature I showed you at the start of the first video. Even though I don't know if I would necessarily want to keep that creature, it looks like a crazy mutant. So it might be better off the way it was, but it's still pretty cool. And I just wanted to show you how that variable works and what you can use it for. So I'll maybe change that back to 3,6. And the offset of 80 is probably fine. And then this is the last version of the creature. In my next video, what I'm going to show you is how to add obstacle avoidance and how to also constrain the creature to move in a certain area. So you can use a behavior called constrain, and you can use the obstacle avoidance behavior to get it to avoid obstacles. And you can also use that behavior to get it to avoid other creatures.